welcome back, my friends, to another podcast so rad, it'll wreck your world. Radnarok. A retrospective episode of Radnarok. My name's Justin of Leal Legacy, and we're diving in to everything we didn't know we wanted to know about Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain, a ride that I was not brave enough to ride until I was maybe, I don't know, like 11. No, I probably still didn't ride it then. Probably like 12, 13. I don't know. For a while in my youth, we would go to Disneyland for my birthday. My uncle Leal would take me, my sister, his family, to Disneyland for my birthday every year. It was, the best. Some of my most fond memories, some of my strongest memories. Well, the strongest memories of the happy variety are those Disney trips. And yeah, I'm not even gonna pretend I was not brave enough to ride Splash Mountain for a very long time. I would sit it out. And sit there waiting for other people to go through the line, go on the ride. So I would sacrifice basically like maybe an hour plus of fun because I lacked the courage to ride it. I think it wasn't until one of my friends in elementary school, I feel like it was Colin. Colin and I were talking about Disneyland for one reason or another. And it came up a part in Splash Mountain. And I had not been on Splash Mountain, but not only was I not brave enough to ride it, I wasn't brave enough to tell people that I was not brave enough to ride it. So I was like coward on coward on coward. You know what I mean? Basically, he and I were talking about Disneyland for one reason or another, and it came up. You know what? I think it was because in 8th grade, we took class Disney trips, or a class Disney trip before, graduating junior high and stepping over into high school or, what have you. So I think that was it. We got on the topic of Splash Mountain, and he brought up the part of the ride just before and as you're going up the incline to go down the waterfall. He was talking about how like spooky and how creepy it was and how it was like genuinely, like the perfect thing to build suspense. And I was just going along with it. Like, yeah, I totally know what you're talking about. No, I had no idea. what he was talking about. And I think it might have been that 8th grade trip where I first rode Splash Mountain because I didn't want to be lame, I talked a big game. I don't know if necessarily I talked a big game, but I wasn't upfront about my shameful fear of going on Splash Mountain. So to save face, I went on it and loved it. I don't know what it was. I guess maybe I had some adverse experiences on other rides of a similar nature, but I can't really pinpoint one. That losing your stomach feel you get when you go down a drop of any kind, be it a waterfall or like a roller coaster or whatever. As a kid, I never, what it was? It was anxiety. I'm a very anxiety-ridden person. And apparently that's affected me my entire life. And I'm just kind of coming to terms with that right now, that even as a child, I didn't handle becoming anxious well. Like, it really consumed me. Because every time I would, and I guess it's a lot of people probably feel the same way. It's the anticipation of a thrill ride. You know, you're in line, you hear the screams in the background, and it's just from the ride. Okay? For whatever reason, saying that out loud sounded like a horror movie. But you hear the people on the ride, like making their, thrill ride noises, and it's hyping it up. It's hyping up that suspense. It's building the anticipation, and that fear, the fear inside grows, or it grew in me. And like, I couldn't hack it. And it wasn't until last year we went to Disney's Animal Kingdom, and Bane had a similar reaction to going on the dinosaur ride. Like, he was breaking down with just terror. And I'm a terrible parent, and I made him go on the ride anyway. More so because I knew the ride just wasn't anything. You know what I mean? There's nothing outrageous on the ride. It's loud, you know what I mean? But it's not thrilling in the way of, like, there's no drops, there are some unexpected surprises, but, like a Haunted Mansion or something, you know what I mean? Like, things will pop out at you and whatnot, but I don't know. I'm actually kind of shocked that he had that reaction to that ride, but he'll go on Splash Mountain, Space Mountain, everything else is completely fine. So I really don't know what it is about the dinosaur ride that affected him so deeply. But I got it. I get it, because I saw myself in him, and I'm just like, I know this terror. I know this feeling. And I'm not a good parent, and I didn't like take him out the exit and say, you know what, buddy, we don't have to do this. I can see it's really bothering you, and we don't have to ride this ride. No, I made him go on it. I'm awful. I don't know, but at the same time, I don't know how to explain this. I want to say at the same time, I wouldn't force him to go on a ride that, like, I legitimately know is going to mess him up. But what do I know about that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what exactly triggers him to feel super anxious and scared, because clearly it's not the same stuff that freaked me out at his age. At his age, Splash Mountain freaked me out. At his age, and him now, wasn't even fazed by it. So I don't know. We're just two different people. Imagine that. But anyhow, Splash Mountain. I've been on it. I always go on it now, and it's one of my favorite rides. I love it so much. I feel like I enjoy the Magic Kingdom version better than the Disneyland version. That's not to say that the Disneyland version isn't awesome, because it is. I don't know. I think there's some more like extended scenes in the Magic Kingdom version that aren't at the Disneyland version, and that comes with the first ride, wherever a ride debuts. Like, Space Mountain debuted in Orlando and Disney World, Magic Kingdom, and then Disneyland got their version later on, and as a result, I feel like a wide consensus might be that the Disneyland version of Space Mountain is the superior version. So Splash Mountain is similar, but in reverse. Know what I mean? Anyhow, so let's figure this out. Let's get into this. Splash Mountain. Do I say mountain weird? Mountain. Splash Mountain. Ooh, that does sound better. Splash Mountain is a log flume at Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, and Magic Kingdom, based on the animated sequences of the 1946 Disney film Song of the South. Although there are variations in the story and features between the three locations. Each installation begins with a peaceful outdoor float-through that leads to indoor dark ride segments with a climactic steep drop into a briar patch, followed by an indoor finale. The drop is 52.5 feet. That's pretty fascinating. In June 2020, it was announced that the U.S. versions of the ride would be replaced with a theme based on the 2009 film The Princess and the Frog. So, I have feelings about that. So here we go. Interesting to me that all three Splash Mountains are themed to Song of the South. And it will only be the American versions of the ride, the U.S. versions of the ride, that will be going through the Princess and the Frog retheming. Now, Song of the South has some racially negative connotations, supposedly. I've never seen it. I don't know anything about it other than Zippity Doodah and various clips that I've seen of the film and Splash Mountain. Now, those three things don't resonate racism in my mind. I've been educated into why others feel that certain aspects of the ride are racially questionable. And, okay, I'm not one to tell anyone how to feel. I'll never tell you how to feel, but I also won't pretend to get it. You know what I mean? I'll respect however you feel. You feel that way? A-okay. Good on you. But I'm not going to act as though I'm able to find logic in certain things. So I get it. Not ever seeing the film, I don't necessarily know. I have an idea of what racism is in my mind. And what I've seen of Song of the South doesn't necessarily reflect the idea of racism I have in my mind. People also feel the same way about the crows in Dumbo. And though they are caricatures of, the African American community, I don't necessarily believe that it's done maliciously or out of hate or with intent to mock or hurt or degrade or demean or beat down anybody. And I feel that way about Splash Mountain. You know what I mean? I have a feeling that Song of the South is similar in Dumbo, where there may be less than sensitive characterizations of, African American individuals, and that's, by our standards today, we don't do that anymore, for good reason. I get it. I understand. There's a lot of things we don't do anymore that they used to do way back when. They used to bleed people and put leeches on them when they were sick. You know what I mean? We grow, we learn, we evolve. That's all, it's growth. Yeah, it's, by today's standards, we wouldn't make Song of the South. We wouldn't do characters like the crows in Dumbo. but not recognizing it as just a reflection of its time. It's, you know, it is what it is. It's not something we would do today, but at the same time, I don't think it was done then maliciously either. So I'm conflicted in that way. Do you want to retheme Splash Mountain? Okay. The Splash Mountain can be rethemed. Rides are rethemed every now and again. Okay, whatever. Make a new ride, maybe. That's another thing. There's nothing in Splash Mountain. There aren't even human characters in Splash Mountain, so you know, there's that. So any sort of racial connotations you're placing on anything on the ride itself are with you, in you as an individual. And there may be a vocal, you know, like population out there who feel similarly to the way you do, but I don't know, maybe just skip that one. Maybe. I don't know. Is that insensitive? I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's, if you want to retheme a ride, go for it. But to lace it with that reasoning doesn't sit well in my mind, especially when it's only two of them. If all three of them are themed for Song of the South and only two of them, the US versions, are being rethemed, either retheme all of them or none of them. You know what I mean? If you're doing this based on racial injustice of some degree, then you're willingly leaving one more racist ride out there. Just because it's not in the US, does that make it less racist? Or is it just because it's the people in the US that are talking too much about it and making a mountain out of a molehill? Is it a mountain? Anyway, I thought that was very, very funny. So you might be mad at me now. You might not. I don't know. I don't think I said anything to make anybody upset. I'm just saying I don't agree with the retheming under the current reasoning. You know what I mean? Now, whatever. I'll roll with it. I don't want anyone going to Disney anywhere and feeling out of place or feeling like there's something that exists that to knock them down. Now, I don't think Splash Mountain exists to knock down the African American population, but I'm going to roll with this for a minute and play the other side of the coin in, yeah, it needs to be rethemed. This is a part of American history that we'd prefer not to be exposed to. Okay? Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't want the magic of Disney to be diluted for anybody. So, you're retheming it The Princess and the Frog. Okay. To me, that feels like it just doesn't feel sincere. It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like it makes sense for the layout of that ride. I don't know. It's Splash Mountain doesn't feel New Orleans. You know what I mean? Make a Princess and the Frog ride for sure. Make it like the other dark rides existing at the parks, like the other storybook dark rides, you know? Pinocchio, Peter Pan, Little Mermaid, Frozen, the Frozen ride at Epcot. Man, what else is there? Pinocchio, Winnie the Pooh, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. You get what I'm saying, right? Do another ride like that. Why not? Put it in New Orleans Square in Disneyland. There's already a New Orleans themed land at Disneyland. Find a way to slap it in there. You know what I mean? Like, that makes sense to me. Okay. Don't retheme it Princess of the Frog. Okay. But I'm not just saying don't do it Princess and the Frog. I'm saying there are other characters that I feel fit that ride better. Like, if you're going to retheme this ride, here's an idea. The tip of the, like, Splash Mountain, the top, like that tree looking part, make it Mother Willow from Pocahontas. There is a part in Pocahontas where she cliff dives alongside a waterfall. Animate that next to the drop as you go down. Like, it's, the ride is in Critter Country and Frontierland. You know? None of those, I guess, critters, maybe Princess and the Frog, you can pose an argument, but you can pose just as strong of an argument for the critters in Pocahontas. I'm not trying to knock down Tiana or the Princess and the Frog. I'm just saying that the layout of the ride currently fits the story flow or the imagery from another existing Disney princess movie. Who, you know what, has zero representation as well. She's Native American. That's another. You're still checking your boxes for representation and stuff by using Pocahontas, and it just makes more sense to me. And then make an original Princess and the Frog ride anywhere. I mean, even in Fantasyland too. Like, wherever, dude. I don't care. Put it in Fantasyland at Magic Kingdom, and then put it in New Orleans Square at Disneyland. I don't know what Tokyo Disneyland has. Do they have a New Orleans Square too? But it just makes more sense to me that way. So I don't know if this is gonna upset some folks. And if it did, I'm sorry. I am. I wasn't trying to be insensitive. I wasn't trying to be anything but a Disney fan. That's all. Because in the retheming, and this is a retheming either way, and this may seem insignificant, this may seem superficial, this may seem silly, but taking away the music on Splash Mountain, going on more than half of the fun on Splash Mountain is the music, I'd say. Everyone's got a laughing place, zippity doodah. I mean, come on. Are you going to keep those in there? Is Tiana going to sing zippity doodah? Because if that's the case, then I feel a little bit better about it. Is that alligator? I forget its name. Are they going to sing about finding a laughing place? No, because those songs don't go in with that film. And it's going to be a bummer when they're gone. Just how I feel about it. So if you're somebody out there who feels, I don't know, racially demeaned by any way, or in any way by Splash Mountain, that sucks. And I feel for you. That's a bummer. I don't know what to say about that. I'm sorry it hurts your feelings. I don't think it's trying to. I don't believe that's the intention. I don't believe at all in the creation of those rides where they like, yeah, this group of people, I'm gonna really stick it to them here. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel. I don't know. It whatever is what it is. So hopefully, if you're a fan of classic Disney, if you're a fan of, you know, Disney history, get on that ride now if you can. If you're able to find a way to either Disneyland or Magic Kingdom, make Splash Mountain a priority. So you get it. You know what I mean? Like you get the experience of Splash Mountain as it was for decades. And you know, whatever. That took a turn. It turned from everything you didn't know you wanted to know about Splash Mountain into this is how I feel about stuff. But anyway, so here's the story of Splash Mountain, like the ride story itself. The plot behind Splash Mountain is a composite of several Uncle Remus stories. So this is where that negative or insensitive racial connotation comes from. Uncle Remus is the fictional title character and narrator of a collection of African American folk tales compiled and adapted by Joel Chandler Harris and published in book form in 1881. Okay. Harris was a journalist in post-Reconstruction Atlanta, and he produced 7... Whoops. Oh, I lost it. Let's go. Let's just go to it though. Let's just go. Let's just figure this out, okay? He produced 7 Uncle Remus books. So Joel Chandler Harris is a white dude. Writing books from an African American point of view, I suppose, in 1881. So, again, I don't know anything, really. But I don't know. Did Joel Chandler Harris do these stories to be a bigot? Or was this just the world he lived in and he pulled inspiration from reality and just that's how it came to be? I don't know. He wrote these stories to represent the struggle in the southern United States, and more specifically in the plantations. He did so by introducing tales that he had heard and framing them in the plantation context. He wrote his stories in a dialect which was his interpretation of deep South African American language of the time. For these framings and stylistic choices, Harris's collection has endured controversy at the time of its publication. I mean, it endures controversy now, and I get the controversy. I understand. You know, white dude writing a voice for Black America. Now, did he do it maliciously? Did he do it with a negative intent? I don't think so. From this, it sounds like he was doing it because they couldn't. You know? They weren't, not to say that they couldn't, they lacked the ability, but they lacked the resources and the support to write the stories themselves, you know? As the African, you know, like an African American at that time wasn't supported to be an author, encouraged to be an author, like super crappy. Yeah. A very unfortunate time in human history. But I don't think this is one of the negative aspects of the time. It feels like this Joel Chandler Harris was working the best he could to represent people who were unrepresented. That's just how I see it. I don't never, you know, he lived in 1881, man. I don't know what his true intentions were. I don't know. I don't think anyone living today knows why Joel Chandler Harris, like, what was going through his head when he sat down to write his Uncle Remus stories. I don't know. Don't know. But I have not seen anything that leads me to believe that it was done maliciously. And for someone to be recognizing the plight of the African American people of the time and trying to, but seemingly, from what I understood about what I just read, seemingly trying to bring it to light for everyone else to see. I don't know. Maybe he was trying to do a good thing. And maybe holding on to movies like Song of the South and the theming of that movie further immortalized in a ride at the happiest and most magical places on earth. I don't know, man. I don't feel like there's bigotry and hatred underneath all of this. That's not, obvious to me. So I don't know. Anyhow, yeah, so the plot behind Splash Mountain is a composite of several Uncle Remus stories. The different versions of Splash Mountain feature similar stories, albeit with small differences. Each ride presents scenes taken from the animated segments of the song or of the film Song of the South, telling the story of Brer Rabbit. I never understood that. Brer. It's BR''ER. Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit, the protagonist. Oh, interesting. I hovered over the Brer Rabbit link and it gave an illustration that does not look like the Disney one. I was caught off guard. Okay, it's telling the story of Brer Rabbit, the protagonist, a mischievous character who leaves his home in search of adventure. Brer Fox and Brer Bear, the antagonists of the story, are determined to catch him, but are repeatedly tricked into letting him free. The sharp-witted Brer Rabbit avoids a snare trap, as described in Brer Rabbit Earns $1 a Minute, and uses it to trap Brer Bear instead. Brer Rabbit continues on his journey to find his laughing place, to go ho ho, and you'll find it. Anyway, find his laughing place. Out of curiosity, his foes follow, but only for Brer Rabbit to lead them into a cavern of bees. That is on the right. Brer Fox eventually catches Brer Rabbit in a beehive and threatens to roast him. Brer Rabbit uses reverse psychology in Brer Fox, begging the fox not to throw him into the briar patch, as described in the tar. Okay, that right there is pretty racist. I'm gonna throw that one out there. Now, I get that. The title of that, I'm not gonna repeat. I don't need a clip of me saying anything, but you know where I was going, right? You know where I was going. So there, that is a pretty bigoty, insensitive title. The story does not lend itself to that title at all. There's no tar. There's no babies. So that negative racial connotation has nothing to do with the story, and I don't know why it was titled that. I'm learning that now, and yeah, I feel like that's kind of messed up. Brer Rabbit Earns $1 a Minute just sounds like an old animated short. The other one that I do know that the U.S. versions do have that. That's the story. Brer Rabbit gets captured by Brer Fox in a beehive, and yeah, all that stuff. That whole segment is the ride Splash Mountain. So, I don't know. Is the problem with the title of that story, which, if it is, yeah, I get it. I get it, and I feel as though a different choice could have been made. So, again, I don't know. I don't know why it's called that. The story itself, even the story description that we went through here, doesn't reflect that title. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a product of its time. You know what I mean? There's nothing at the Disney parks that reflects that poorly chosen title. So I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to do some digging to really be offended by it, or you're just going to have to listen to this podcast, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just, how do you apologize for something that happened 100 plus years ago? You know? I don't know. Yeah. That was, that we wouldn't do that today is all I can say. We wouldn't do that today. We know better now. Well, we do. We do know better now. We know better. Do we know the best? No. Still having a hard time with that for some reason. But we do know better now. So it's just what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's like when you're watching old cartoons and they make blackface gags. It's not cool. It's a product of its time, though. It is what it is. I'm not going to hold it against the character. We've evolved. Just like we don't cut people's wrists when they have a cold anymore. You know what I mean? We don't put leeches on people when they have a tummy ache. I don't know. We've grown, we've evolved. We're constantly trying to do better. But in the pursuit of constantly trying to do better, we got to remember what we're trying to do better then. Because how do you know what I mean? Like, if you cut all this away, you hide it all away, then you lose the understanding of why you're being better. I don't know. Anyway, Briar Fox then throws Briar Rabbit into the Briar Patch, represented by the ride's flume drop. Flume. Briar Rabbit escapes uninjured, miraculously. But we all do. We all go down the flume, and we all escape uninjured. The other animals rejoice to have Briar Rabbit back home, while Briar Fox and Briar Bear are last seen narrowly escaping the jaws of Briar Gator. Woo. Fun. It is a fun story. And as you write it, you're not hit with any sort of negative racial connotation. In my mind. But, I'm Portuguese, so I don't really feel attacked ever. Except in Hawaii. Hawaiians have a less than shining opinion of Portuguese people. So I've gotten to feel like the butt of a lot of racial jokes before. So I get it. Not to the same degree, but well, I'm just going to step away from this. This is about Splash Mountain. But the thing is, this comes with Splash Mountain, unfortunately. So it is what it is. What are you going to do? But I hope that everything I just read kind of shines some light on this. This isn't trying to hurt anybody, I don't think. I mean, that is a very poorly chosen title for the story we get on the ride. But at the same time, it's not called Splash Mountain and then in parentheses, the tar. It's not there. So So maybe we forget that aspect of it. Let's lose that old title to time, let it fade away, and just know this as the story of Splash Mountain. That's it. Whatever. If I made you mad, then I don't know. You can hit stop. Go do something else. Splash Mountain, here's a little history of it for it. Splash Mountain was originally conceived in the summer of 1983 by Imagineer Tony Baxter while stuck in rush hour traffic on his way to work. Wow. So he's stuck in rush hour traffic and he's just sitting there thinking about a flume ride? Or was he listening to Zippity Doodah and he was like, man, this song needs a ride based around it, which I would agree. He wanted to attract guests to the often empty bear country land in Disneyland. Bear Country, which later was rethemed as Critter Country. Land in Disneyland. Okay, so wait, hold on. He wanted to attract guests to the often empty Bear Country land in Disneyland, with the only attraction as the Country Bear Jamboree, which later closed in 2001. Plus a souvenir shop, and make use of the audio animatronics from America Sings, which was also poorly attended. Oh, I didn't know they were recycled animatronics in there. It was Dick Nunes who insisted that the Imagineers create a log flume for Disney or for Disneyland, but the Imagineers were initially unenthusiastic about it, feeling that log flumes were too ordinary theme park attractions, or was a too ordinary theme park attraction to include in a Disney park. They were like, log flumes are kind of boring. Log flumes are really generic. Doesn't have a place here at Disney. While trying to solve the problems of including a log flume, bringing people into Bear Country, and reusing the American Sings characters, Baxter thought of Song of the South. That's the inspiration for using Song of the South. They're like, we got a bunch of animatronics that are animals. They can sing. We need a log flume. What in here fits these, parameters that we're trying to work within? Boom, Song of the South. There is no hidden agenda there, as far as I can tell. Construction began at Disneyland in April 1987. By that time, Splash Mountain, whose budget had risen greatly to $75 million, had become one of the most expensive projects created by Walt Disney Imagineering. The entire park cost around $17 million to build in 1955, which translates to around $80 million in 1987. According to Alice Davis, wife of the late great animator. Sorry, I was still thinking of Baxter when I was thinking Imagineer. The Mark Davis. He was an animator for Disney, one of the nine old men. Anyway, Alice Davis, according to Alice Davis, when America Sings closed in April 1988, production of Disney's Splash or Disneyland. Okay, I'm going to start this one over because I went off on a tangent because I miss, careered Mark Davis. According to Alice Davis, wife of the late Mark Davis, when America Sings closed in April 1988, production of Disneyland's Splash Mountain had gone far over budget. The only way to recover was to close down America Sings and use the characters from that attraction. So it sounds like the attraction wasn't closed, but with Tony Baxter thinking of needing to reuse some of the characters, it sounds like they had already been like, you know what, nobody goes on this ride. Let's repurpose this, but into what? But then it also sounds like, according to Alice Davis, she's like, they had to close America Sings because the construction of Splash Mountain was so over budget. But then you get the contradicting aspect of, in 1983, Tony Baxter was like, we need to use these animatronics. How? So I don't know. I don't know who's right. I would think the Imagineer would have more accurate information than the wife of a deceased animator. Not trying to be insensitive, but I mean, you were married to a legendary animator, one of the 9 old men. I'm not necessarily going to be confident in your ride strategy, like theme park ride strategy information. I don't know. Sorry, Alice. Hope I don't offend. Anyway, Baxter and his team developed the concept of Zippity Doodah. Oh wait, no. Sorry. I get so rolling on Zippity Doo. I gotta, like, that's not even what this says. My dyslexia took over hard here. That doesn't say Zippity Doodah. That was just my brain. What it really says is Baxter and his team developed the concept of Zip-a-Dee River Run. So there is a Zippity in there, but there's no Doodah. Zippity River Run, which would incorporate scenes from Song of the South. Okay. The name was later changed to Splash Mountain after then CEO Michael Eisner's suggestion that the attraction be used to help market the 1984 film Splash. So even in the titling, it's like we gotta promote a mermaid movie. So we're gonna it has nothing to do with this ride. Mermaids and this movie have nothing to do with this ride, but we're gonna use the word splash to keep the word splash in people's minds so they go to the movie. It's so silly. Oh, man. The characters from America Sings were used in many scenes, though all of the main characters were specifically designed for Splash Mountain. Dave Feiten? Feiten? You tell me how that's pronounced. Dave Feiten was then brought in to animate and fix story and staging problems. Feiten moved nearly all of the animatronics to new locations, removing 10 animatronic figures from the ride completely to improve the show. Wow. Less animatronics made for a better show experience? Interesting. And I wonder which ones they were. Let's see. Splash Mountain was originally planned to open in 1988, but this was delayed to 1989. The planned grand opening on July 17th, 1989 could not be met. Wait, what? The grand opening in July 17th, 1989 could not be met, but the original planned opening of 88 was delayed to 89, so it was delayed in 89 again? Weird. Early riders made up of company executives were getting soaked rather than lightly sprayed. What's wrong with that? And so the ride opening date had to be delayed again for months so that the boats could be redesigned to hold fewer passengers, to build them lighter, and to redesign the bottom and bow to make them less likely to splash so much water around. I mean, yeah, I guess you don't want to be drenched, but I feel like you get pretty wet depending on where you sit and who you're riding with. Yeah. I feel like the heavier areas in the log will become more wet. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. Could be wrong, though. Let's see. How to make them less likely to splash water aboard. Okay. And yeah, if too much water is coming in, those boats might start to, like, sink. They got to be drained, right? With the amount of water that goes into them now, I feel like they can evaporate pretty easily. It's not going to get too, the water's not going to weigh it down too much to where it, like, submerges. Is that the right word? To celebrate the opening of Disneyland's version in 1989, a television special was made called Ernest Goes to Splash Mountain. Oh, I want to find that. I enjoyed the Ernest movies growing up. I didn't realize that there was a television special for Splash Mountain called Ernest Goes to Splash Mountain. And now that I know that, I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of locating that and watching it. I wonder if I could find it on YouTube, and I wonder if I'll be able to do a watch along for it. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe. We'll see. But that also sounds like something they would want to add to Disney Plus, though, too. So I don't know. Actor and comedian Jim Varney, also the voice of Slinky Dog. You see how long Jim Varney has been in the Disney family? 1989, maybe even before that. I'm not sure, but at least 1989. Okay, so actor and comedian Jim Varney returned to play the title role of Ernest in the special. Oh, so he had already retired as Ernest, maybe. Returned to play the title role. Well, who else would play Ernest, honestly, if it wasn't Jim Varney? In 1991, construction began for the Splash Mountain attraction at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom and Tokyo Disneyland. On July 17th, 1992, soft openings began at the Magic Kingdom. The two versions of Splash Mountain officially opened within a day of each other in October 1992. The Tokyo Disneyland attraction opened on October 1st, and the Magic Kingdom attraction opened on October 2nd. Wow, so that effectively makes the Magic Kingdom version of Splash Mountain the latest version because it opened a day later. It was the third Splash Mountain to be open. I always thought it was the second one. In the late 1990s, the ride became synonymous with the phrase Flash Mountain. Why? Some female rider... Oh. Yeah, so here we go. Flash Mountain. Some female riders briefly expose their breasts during the descent, hoping to make illicit use of the in-ride photographs that Disney later sells to ride patrons. Crafty bees. You know what I'm talking about? That's funny. Yeah, now when you try to do anything silly, going down, I think on anything, any ride that has, the photo op, it like if you do something less than savory going down Splash Mountain, it'll get rid of your photo and say your photo was washed away. So that's pretty funny. In January 2011, Splash Mountain at Magic Kingdom received lap bars for safety reason. Each row of 2 to 3 passengers share one lap bar. Meanwhile, Tokyo Disneyland received individual lap bars, which makes the height restriction 5 inches shorter than the other two versions. I guess I didn't remember. I didn't have a clear memory of pulling down a lap bar, but I guess I did at the at Magic Kingdom. And is that is that saying that Disneyland currently still doesn't have lap bars? Because thinking back about it, at the Disney World, that Magic Kingdom, you sit side by side in a row. Disneyland, you sit one in front of the other. So it's interesting. Cool. 5 inches shorter. That's a lot shorter too. They added lap bars and deducted 5 inches from the height requirement. That's a lot, man. That's almost half a foot. Cool. A version of the attraction was planned for Disneyland Paris, but was scrapped due to budget reasons and the colder weather in Europe. I mean, that makes sense. If it's colder, you're not going to want to be wet walking around. So, yeah, I get it. During the 2018 season, the Magic Kingdom location received a new sponsorship by Ziploc. The company created custom plastic bags to protect belongings for guests who rode the attraction. I've never used those. I didn't know anything about this. That's fairly recent. And yeah, I had no clue. I'm going to look for that next time I'm there. In June 2020, it was announced that the Disneyland and Magic Kingdom attractions would be rethemed based on the 2009 film The Princess and the Frog. Disney stated that development of the project began in 2019 prior to the online petitions that were circulated during the George Floyd protests. The New York Times reported that Disney executives have been privately discussing removing the attraction's Song of the South theme for at least 5 years. That's interesting. Before putting it into development, a theme based on The Princess and the Frog. Oh, wait. Oh, my dyslexia kicked in and chopped up that sentence weird. The New York Times reported that the New York Times reported that Disney executives have been privately discussing removing the attraction's Song of the South theme for at least 5 years before putting into development a theme based on Princess and the Frog. Got it. The project will be led by Walt Disney Imagineer senior creative producer. Wow, what is this name? Sharita Carter, Charita, Sharita. You tell me how that's pronounced. So let's see. Walt Disney Imagineer senior creative producer Sharita Carter, with Baxter running as a creative advisor. A spokeswoman said that there are no plans to redesign the attraction at Tokyo Disneyland, although the Oriental Land Company, that's an interesting title, which operates Tokyo Disney Resort, is currently engaged in discussions on whether or not to change the attraction. So I guess there is a third-party company that operates Disney in Tokyo, so it's really up to them. It's not necessarily up to Disney themselves to retheme that ride. That's why only the U.S. versions are currently going through the seemingly guaranteed retheming of the ride. Interesting. In August 2021, Vice President of Magic Kingdom, Melissa Valquetti, Melissa Valquetti, Valquette, Valquetti. Is that right? Stated that due to the slow process of redesigning the ride, it was going to be a little bit of time to reimagine Splash Mountain. Oh, it's going to be a little bit of time to reimagine Splash Mountain because you're picking a theme that doesn't fit the blueprint of the ride? Like, at all? Could that be it? Maybe if you picked a story and a theme that kind of, fit the existing skeleton of the ride mechanics, it might go a little quicker? Or do you guys not really want to make a redesign? Because a redesign seems a little, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Doesn't, doesn't fix anything. Changing Splash Mountain isn't going to fix racial conflicts outside the parks. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Let's put our focus on things to like actually make the world a better place. Right? Is anybody going to go and go, oh man, finally, Splash Mountain's been rethemed. Everything's okay. Everything is all better now. Yeah. All of the rides feature the same scenes and a nearly identical layout. The story of Splash Mountain, Brer Rabbit Leaves Home, is told in the dark ride segment on the meandering river. The flume converts to a roller coaster style track in complete darkness to transition to the Laughing Place caverns. After Brer Rabbit is captured, the log ascends up the attraction's predominant hill into the TB segment. Although in the attraction, the TB segment is replaced with a hive of bees. Got it. And I'm saying TB, referencing the unfortunately named or titled story previously. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. That itself, again, is a very unfortunate story title. But again, I don't know. It's not plastered up there. I don't know. How many people knew that story, was called that, and that portion of Splash Mountain was based on a story that was called that? Now, although in the attraction that particular sequence is replaced with a hive of bees, so I'm not sure what the original actually tar? I don't get it. Anyhow, modifications were made clearly to distance itself from the source material. So I don't know, guys. Brer Rabbit, now captured by Brer Fox, tricks the villain into throwing him into the Briar Patch. The drop itself mimics Brer Rabbit's fall. The log descends a 56-foot drop. The log descends a 56-foot drop into a briar patch before continuing back into the mountain, where numerous audio animatronic animals sing a chorus of Zippity Doodah. Voila. Should I get into the individual parks or no? Yeah. Because if I don't, this would be chopped up into multiple podcasts, and I don't think that would do anybody any good. So let's just roll with it, right? So in Disneyland, guests enter the queue in front of the main drop viewing area. The queue winds past the Critter Country sign into the main entrance, where a number of machines with cogs and gears dominate. Okay. Various thoughts and sayings from Uncle Remus are featured on signs throughout the queue, which winds around a barn structure and reaches the loading area. Passengers ride aboard 6 to 7 seater logs with 6 single file seats. So it's a 6 to 7 seater log. Oh, okay. Because you can fit small children in front of you. So if you have like a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, I don't know. How old was Bane when he could finally ride this? 5? So Bane would sit like directly in front of me instead of a seat of his own. So yeah. Let's see. The last seat in each log is larger and allows room for larger guests or an adult and a small child, overall increasing the capacity to be 7 in each log. There you go. The log departs the loading area and ascends 2 conveyor-type lifts before floating gently through scenery designed to invoke the feeling of a river in the southern state of Georgia. The homes of the 3 main characters and aged farm equipment are incorporated into the landscape, along with an instrumental version of How Do You Do? How do you do? 5 minute. Emanating from hidden speakers along the waterway. Pretty good, sure as you're born. Before the logs enter the indoor portion, snoring is heard emanating from Brer Bear's cave. The snoring is a tribute to the original entrance to Bear Country, the former name of Critter Country, where the bear named Rufus was heard snoring from a cave. So look at that. They tip their hats at Bear Country. And they actually they have that same scene in the Magic Kingdom version as well. So if you're at Magic Kingdom, the snoring you're hearing coming out of Brer Bear's house is a nod to Bear Country, one of the OG locations in Disneyland, which is now Critter Country. Let's see. After a short drop down slip and falls, guests enter the indoor portion of the attraction where various audio animatronic animals such as geese, frogs, and opossums. I know it's just possums, but I like saying opossum, okay? Sing the attraction's first musical number, How Do You Do? How do you do? 5 minute. I don't think I know the words. Pretty good, sure as you're born. What goes up is sure to come down. A penny lost is a penny found. See, that's where I start to lose it. Yeah. After rounding the corner, riders see Brer Bear caught in a trap while Brer Fox berates him and tells him, "We gotta catch that Brer Rabbit." Brer Rabbit, seen outside his briar patch, tells Brer Turtle that he's leaving home in search of adventure and he's heading for his laughing place. Brer Bear follows him only for the laughing place to actually be a trick, and Brer Bear winds up being attacked by bees as Brer Rabbit laughs at the sight. Riders progress through the surreal rainbow caverns where characters sing "Everybody's Got a Laughing Place." Everybody's got a laughing place. Brer Fox then manages to trap Brer Rabbit in a beehive. The mood turns ominous as 2 mother characters, a possum and a rabbit, sing the burrow's lament. At the base of the final lift hill, 2 vultures bear ominous warnings for the riders. The logs being the final... Oh, wait, hold on. The logs begin the final ascent, and shortly before the attraction's climactic drop, Brer Rabbit is seen alongside the hill, about to be eaten by Brer Fox, but Brer Rabbit outsmarts Brer Fox and Brer Bear by tricking them into throwing him into the briar patch where he was born and raised. Couple things. My voice got a little phlegmy there and started cracking, so I do apologize for that. What I'm also going to apologize is we've gone over this story and rundown of the ride so many times already. So I hope that it's still at least a little bit entertaining for you. If not, I apologize. And I'm going to keep going. Riders are then sent down the final drop into the briar patch, mimicking his fall. The top half of the drop is highly visible from the adjacent areas of the park. An on-ride photo is taken as the log begins to fall, and it can be purchased after disembarking from the ride. From the top of the hill, riders look towards the splashdown point. From the top of the hill, riders looking toward the splashdown point will notice a full pond of water ahead of them. Excuse me. I'm not sure what they're referencing. Well, good news. I'm going to Disneyland fairly soon, so I'm going to figure out what that is in reference to. The log then dives under the water into an underground runout. The collective weight of the riders generally determines the degree to which they get wet here. See, I knew it. It depends on the rider size. Like, the collective weight of the log itself. But let's be real. Like, last time we rode Splash Mountain in Magic Kingdom, I feel like it might have been just myself, Bane, and Rylan riding it. If there was anyone else in the log, it may have been like one person at most. So given that all of the weight in that log was where we were sitting, we got pretty drenched. So fascinating stuff. Where did I drop off? The collective weight. Okay, here. An indoor segment follows the drop, after which the logs make a final entrance into the section of the mountain named Doodah Landing. I like that. Doodah Landing, where a full cast of audio animatronic figures sing Zippity Doodah, and the respective fates of Brer Rabbit reclined happily at his home, and the antagonists fending off a hungry Brer Gator are seen. As the log passes through the Doodah Landing room, a series of glass windows can be seen near the ceiling, behind which is a tunnel used by the Disneyland railroad track. Interesting. So behind that glass window, the Disneyland railroad track passes through. Huh? That's pretty cool. Before the return to the loading area, riders are given a preview of their picture that was taken on the final drop via an overhead screen. Professor Barnaby Owl, an overheard audio animatronic, calls the riders' attention to the screen as he remarks on their expressions. After disembarking the log, riders enter a dark room where they can preview their on-ride photograph before exiting back out to Critter Country. Wowee. That is Splash Mountain at Disneyland. Then Splash Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland. Splash Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland is a very similar... Oh, wait, hold on. Splash Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland is very similar to the Florida version of the ride, with a few exceptions. The ride's layout is a mirror image of Florida's own, to the attraction's location on the opposite side of the river. The secondary characters are altogether different, and the show scenes are in different orders. Interesting. The Tokyo version also lacks a mill or barn-like structure on the second lift, although it is used as the main entrance to the ride queue. That's pretty fascinating. Instead, the logs Instead, the logs venture into a cave-like opening to the beginning. I'm reading that all kinds of messed up. Let me start over. Hurrah, dyslexia. Instead, the logs venture into a cave-like opening to begin the second ascent. Another difference from the Florida version is that the slip and falls drop takes place in a dark cave, making the final drop the only outdoor one. The Tokyo version does not have an extra drop after the biggest drop, while the Florida version does. Yeah, kinda. The drop after the big drop at Magic Kingdom isn't really much of a drop. It's kind of like a very small hill. What I'm looking at has the photos of each mountain, and aesthetically, I feel like Disneyland's my favorite. It's the most mountain looking, at least, between the three. All right. So that was Disneyland and Tokyo Disneyland. Now let's dive into Magic Kingdom. So at Magic Kingdom, without a critter country in Walt Disney World, Splash Mountain is instead located in Frontierland, across the way from Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Construction of Splash Mountain necessitated the demolition of the existing railroad station and temporarily turning the railroad into a shuttle between Main Street, USA, and Mickey's Toontown Fair. Riders board 8 passenger logs, seated 2 by 2, unlike Disneyland where they seat 1 by 1. Logs are now equipped with lap bars for safety reasons following a January 2011 renovation. The log departs the loading area where Brer Frog provides safety reasons following see, dyslexia. I just went right back up to the line I was on. Hold on. Okay. The log departs the loading area where Brer Frog provides instruction or introductory. Man, wow. Please, I do apologize for the way my brain translates text. Take 3? Can we do a take 3? Do we have enough film for a take 3? Okay. Now I just lost where I'm at. Okay, the log departs the loading area where Brer Frog provides introductory narration. The log ascends a dual chain lift that drops riders in a small pond at the bottom of the big drop. Okay? After a right turn, logs enter the barn and climb another lift to the space behind the visible mountain before floating gently through scenery designed to invoke the feeling of a river in the southern United States, particularly Georgia, where Song of the South was based. The homes of the 3 main characters, aged farm equipment, stagecoach, wagon, and ale barrels are incorporated into the landscape, along with a country instrumental version of How Do You Do, emanating from hidden speakers along the waterway, a lot like the Disneyland version, with the exception of Brer Frog providing some introduction narration. All right, let's see. After passing Brer Bear's cave, the logs descend down the slip-in falls drop and cross back under the flume. The logs then enter the show building containing the indoor portion of the attraction, where various audio animatronic animals, including geese and frogs, sing the attraction's first musical number, How Do You Do? Several vignettes establish the story of a restless Brer Rabbit leaving home and being pursued by Brer Fox and Brer Bear. Brer Fox and Brer Bear see Brer Rabbit telling Mr. Bluebird that he's going to his laughing place. Brer Porcupine warns him of the danger ahead, but Brer Rabbit continues on. Everybody's Got a Laughing Place begins to play after Brer Bear springs Brer Bear's foxes, or one more time. Everybody's Got a Laughing Place begins to play after Brer Bear springs Brer Fox's rabbit trap. Hoy. The logs continue onward past a roadrunner who asks to be taken along to the laughing place while possums sing the song from overhead. I vaguely remember that roadrunner. The logs reach a dark tunnel followed by a dip drop into the laughing place. Bees attack Brer Bear while Brer Rabbit laughs with joy, unaware that Brer Fox is behind him, preparing to drop a beehive on top of him. The logs then go over another short drop and head further into the cavern scenes. Guys are riding turtles and laughing, singing bullfrogs and dancing water fountains guide the log to a dark area in which Brer Rabbit has been caught by Brer Fox in a cave of stalactites and stalagmites. Whoa. I was losing confidence right there in my ability to read aloud. Two vultures, this time wearing top hats. Oh, they're dressed. They're dressed in the Magic Kingdom and not Disneyland. Amazing. That adds a whole new element of class, really. Two vultures, this time wearing top hats, taunt riders as they begin their ascent up the final lift. A scene to the left side of the flume shows Brer Fox menacing Brer Rabbit with Brer Rabbit's... Okay, hold on. A scene to the left side of the flume shows Brer Fox menacing Brer Rabbit, with Brer Rabbit pleading not to be thrown into the briar patch. At the top of this third lift, the log descends the 50-foot, it's shorter in Magic Kingdom, descends the 50-foot drop at a 45-degree angle, reaching a maximum speed of 40 miles per hour into the tunnel underneath the Frontierland walkway. After another outdoor flume segment, the log coasts back into the mountain where critters at Doodah Landing are singing Zippity Doodah in celebration of Brer Rabbit's return, while Brer Fox and Brer Bear attempt to fend off Brer Gator. At the end, Brer Rabbit sings with Mr. Bluebird, telling him he learned his lesson. After exiting the log, riders can tap their card or magic bands to save their photos. That was quite the endeavor that we just went on. Man. I was under the delusion that this was going to be like a shorter episode. No. One of the most important aspects of Splash Mountain is, like I was saying earlier, the soundtrack. Those songs are so Disney to me that for them not to be incorporated in the park, I feel is beyond tragic. So the soundtrack here, Disneyland. Splash Mountain at Disneyland features music in a jazzy big band meets orchestral style, fitting the attraction's proximity to New Orleans Square. I don't feel like the proximity of Splash Mountain is really that close to New Orleans Square, really. I mean, maybe. How Do You Do, recorded specifically for the ride in 1988 by the Floozies, a 29-piece band from Oregon. The backing track of Bum 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 that can be heard coming from the bullfrogs in accompaniment to the lyrics sung by the geese was sung by 13 of the 29 members. Walter Stephen, Sim Hergel, Walter Stephen, in quotations, Sim, S-I-M, and then Hergel, H-U-R-G-L-E, you tell me how that's pronounced, is the band's lead vocalist, and his voice can be heard singing most of the words while his fellow band members provide harmony and backing vocals. One of the bullfrogs is voiced by veteran voice actor Thurl Ravenscroft, who I feel that name is very, very familiar. Thurl Ravenscroft, he's the voice behind the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes spokesperson, Tony the Tiger. He was also the uncredited vocalist for You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. Oh. Ravencroft did some voiceover work and singing for Disney in both the films and attractions at Disneyland and Disney World. Best known for these attractions are Haunted Mansion as a singing bust. Oh, look at his face. He is one of those singing busts. That's interesting. Country Bear Jamboree, Mark Twain Riverboat, Pirates of the Caribbean, Disneyland Railroad, and Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room as Fritz. Wow. That's a lot. Wow, he lived to 91 too. What an epic life. That is so fascinating that his voice is heard across all of those different attractions. I was thinking I recognize Thurl Ravenscroft from like that name from like a movie or something, but I guess not. I guess I was reading something about probably Haunted Mansion, to be honest with you, if I picked up that name from anywhere. Okay, so next, everybody has a laughing place, but everybody is spelled EV 'RYBODY. Everybody has a laughing place. And Burroughs Lament. These songs are sung by Elsa, Georgia, and Castell Newton, three sisters from California who worked for the Walt Disney Company at the time of the ride's construction. Castell and Elsa sing the words, while Georgia was responsible for the high-pitched operatic ahs in the background. One of those, which were removed upon the song changing from Sooner or Later to Burroughs Lament. Burroughs Lament is mainly sung by B.J. Ward. The vultures above the third lift hill are voiced by Jess Harnell. Let's see. What did Jess Harnell do? Jess Harnell is an American voice actor and singer. He voiced Captain Hero in the animated TV series Drawn Together, Wacko Warner in Animaniacs, Ironhide in the first three Transformer films, produced by Michael Bay, and Crash Bandicoot. Wow. Good for you, Jason Harnell. Zippity Doodah, a choir consisting of over 75 cast members was used to record this last score. Recorded in the company's Burbank studios in 1987, Jess Harnell sings a solo as Brer Rabbit as the logs take their final turn back into the station. That's really cool. 75 cast members are the choir that sings Zippity Doo at the end. With Wacko Warner singing a solo as Brer Rabbit. Wow. It's full circle right there. Like, small world after all, right? In addition, several other songs from Song of the South are heard as instrumental tracks playing on a loop near the attraction and in the queue area. These include That's What Uncle Remus Said, Sooner or Later, All I Want, Who Wants to Live Like That, and Let the Rain Pour Down. The loop only features songs from the film and lasts about 25 minutes. Animators took over 80 hours to synchronize each figure. To rewire and test each figure took an additional 3 months before the attraction could open, as programmers were tasked with reprogramming the figures from their previous America Sings performances with a decent level of realism in accordance with the new settings. Each character can carry out 45 seconds of movement and dialogue before a loop function restarts the sequence from the beginning. Huh. That's pretty interesting. So, Tokyo Disneyland. Like in Florida, the main melodies consist of banjos, fiddles, and harmonicas. The vocals, however, are completely different from the Magic Kingdom attraction, with the specific verses sung within the show scenes arranged in different orders, and the choruses and backup vocals arranged with different harmonies. Additionally, dialogue and lyrics in Tokyo are Japanese for "How do you do" and "Zippity Doodah," but English for "Everybody's got a laugh in place." In both instances, Burrow's Lament is heard as an instrumental track with timpani drums, a take that was originally recorded for Disneyland but never used, with dramatic orchestra and choir. Wow. So it really sounds like the Tokyo Disneyland and Magic Kingdom versions are more closely related than the Disneyland version, which makes sense because those two opened within a day of each other, right? Yeah. So fun. And then having two of the songs in Japanese, or most of the songs in Japanese, and then the two in English. That's interesting. Magic Kingdom. The ride features the same songs heard at the Disneyland attraction, which are variations of the 3 songs found in the animated segments from Song of the South, though the attraction does not present these songs in the same order as the film. Because the ride's location in Frontierland, the soundtrack features a country feel with banjos and harmonicas as the primary instruments, and also because of Florida's proximity to Georgia, where Song of the South was set. Burrow's Lament is the only exception, using an orchestral track with timpani drums, originally recorded for the Disneyland version. Fascinating. So what we've learned here is that the music for Disneyland has a more New Orleans jazz vibe to them, and then Magic Kingdom, because it's part of Frontierland, has a more country sound. So that is very fascinating, and I wonder how obvious that is when you've ridden both. In the order heard in the attractions ride-through segments, How Do You Do, Everybody's Got a Laugh in Place, and then followed by Zippity Doodah. That's how the sequence of songs goes at Magic Kingdom. Songs from the film heard as instrumental tracks in the queue area include That's What Uncle Remus Said, Let the Rain Pour Down, Sooner or Later, and the opening theme from the film. Traditional songs like Old MacDonald Had a Farm and Goober Peas are also played in the bluegrass style, or in a bluegrass style. I didn't notice that. The loop lasts about an hour and includes different orchestrations of the three main songs heard in the ride as well. Fascinating. Music releases, despite being released on CD, attributed to the Magic Kingdom or Walt Disney World in general, as well as often being specific track attribution, such as from Walt Disney World Splash Mountain. The country western style soundtrack actually found at the Florida and Tokyo parks has at least managed to surface on the 2003 Walt Disney World CD entitled The Official Album Where Magic Lives. What did I just read? Okay, let's try that again. Despite being released on CD, attributes of the Magic Kingdom or Walt Disney World in general, as well as often bearing specific track attribution, such as from Walt Disney World Splash Mountain, the country western style soundtrack actually found at the Florida and Tokyo parks has at least managed to surface on the 2003 Walt Disney World CD entitled The Official Album Where Magic Lives. So what I'm gathering from that is the soundtrack from Disneyland is like the standard versions we hear of those songs, but there is a version out there with the more country vibe that you find in Magic Kingdom and Tokyo Disneyland. Crazy. Let's see. Banjos are heard for over halfway through the 7:57 length, as well as at the end. 7:57, 7 minutes and 57 second length, as well as at the end. It is a very different musical arrangement when compared to many other Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or combination Walt Disney World, Disneyland CDs labeled as the official album. The Disneyland ride does not incorporate this particular country western themed soundtrack. Fan credited versions of the country western version from the Magic Kingdom have also surfaced as MP3 downloads online. Tokyo Disneyland variations have surfaced also, but have been harder to locate. Wild. So, lastly, shout out to the cast: Brer Rabbit, Jesse Harnell; Brer Fox, J.D. Hall on the Disneyland version, and Jess Harnell for the Magic Kingdom version; Brer Bear, Nick Stewart and Jess Harnell, some lines, Disneyland version; then James Avery, the Magic Kingdom version; Mr. Bluebird, Jess Harnell; Brer Frog, James Avery; Bullfrogs, Thurl Ravenscroft; Mother Possum is BJ Ward; Mother Rabbit is BJ Ward; Geese, Jess Harnell; and the Vultures are Jess Harnell. Jess Harnell, shout out to you, King of Splash Mountain. Woo! All right, we did it, guys. We did it. We went through everything we didn't know we wanted to know about all three current iterations of Splash Mountain. Now, you can go to the parks yourself and experience these wonderful rides. I've only ridden 2 out of the 3, but the 2 I've been on are, Disney staples, Disney classics. Hopefully one day I'll be able to go to Tokyo Disneyland and I'll be able to experience that one as well. And I do genuinely hope that you are able to experience the rides, all 3 versions of Splash Mountain yourself as well. But if you're unable to immediately or in the near future, or if you're just like at home jonesing for a little taste of Splash Mountain, well, good news. On our website, specifically the post for this episode, and on YouTube and wherever else I feel like posting it, you can find both ride-through videos where it's just footage I've taken of one of my times going through the entire ride itself, and then another version for our vlogumentary ride-along where I provide my own commentary over the ride footage, and it's like we're riding it together, and I'm being really rude and distracting you the entire time over the ride. Yeah, it's a lot more fun than it sounds. But hey, like I said, if you don't want to hear my questionable commentary, then there is a version called a ride through where it's just the sounds of it's just the ambiance of the ride. You know what I mean? So you don't hear me running my mouth over it. But if you don't care about me running my mouth, then scope out our vlogumentary ride-along videos. Yeah, I have videos for the Magic Kingdom Splash Mountain currently up and posted. I am, like I said, going to Disneyland here in the next couple months, so I will have the same done for the Disneyland Splash Mountain. Depending on when you listen to this, that might already be available. It might not if you're listening to this right away. It's not available yet, but it's coming, and you know, the Magic Kingdom ones are already up and ready for your eyeballs. So hopefully you're walking away from this with an urge, a fire within you to experience the wonder that is Splash Mountain at any park, either for the first time or again. So that being said, I appreciate you joining me for this. Scope out the ride along and ride through videos. Also, if you like what we're doing here, the best way to support us is to shop our Skeleton Crew store. So you just go to leallegacy.com/shop, skeletoncrewbrand.com, or, just the Skeleton Crew tab on our website. So a couple different ways to get there, or you can get there through Facebook or our Instagram. The Skeleton Crew Facebook or Instagram, both are at Skeleton Crew Brand. And speaking of social media, across all your favorite social media platforms, you can follow Leal Legacy just at Leal Legacy. So voila. There's a lot of Disney-esque designs, our Disnerd collection for Skeleton Crew. So if you're a Disney fiend like I am, take a gander at those. You might find something you like. I'm constantly updating new designs, reworking designs, taking old designs, put them on new things all the time. So it's in your best interest to make it part of your daily habit to scope out what we got going on at leallegacy.com. Yeah. Good times. And again, for the ride through and ride along videos, you can just go to leallegacy.com, up on the Radnarok podcast tab, go down to retrospective episodes, and this post will be in there. And you can check out those videos, or you can dig them up on YouTube. Whatever you feel. And keep a lookout for the Disneyland Splash Mountain ride through and ride along. And God willing, one day, the Tokyo Disneyland Splash Mountain ride through and ride along. So until then, thanks again, folks. And as always, most importantly, thanks for being a friend and telling a friend. Later.